What if I told you Carl Jung found a way to see through anyone's mask with just two simple questions? And what if the person sitting across from you right now is hiding something so deep, even they don't know it exists? Stay with me, because once you hear this, you'll never look at people the same way again. We all think we know people, right? We watch what they do. We listen to what they say. We try to read their faces. We believe we can figure out who they are. But Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, discovered something that changes everything. He found that all of us wear a mask. Jung called it the persona. This is the version of ourselves we show the world, the polished version, the version we want others to see. But underneath that mask, that's where our real character lives. When life feels calm and we're in control, we keep the mask perfectly in place. We play the role we want others to believe. But Jung discovered something powerful. There are two specific moments when the mask always slips, and when it does, you see the truth, the real person hiding underneath. Let me explain how this works. Jung said our personality has layers, like an onion. First, there's the persona, the mask we wear. Beneath that is the ego, our conscious sense of who we are. Deeper down is what Jung called the personal unconscious. That's where we store memories and experiences we've pushed away. Below that lives the shadow. This contains all the traits we've rejected about ourselves, the parts we don't want to face or admit we have. And at the deepest level, Jung believed we all share certain patterns. He called this the collective unconscious. Here's the key insight. Under pressure, our careful mask cracks. We stop acting from our polished persona. Instead, we react from our raw, authentic self. Jung identified two triggers that expose the truth every single time. The first is projection. This is when we see our own hidden traits in other people. The things we can't stand in others are often reflections of parts of ourselves we've rejected. The second is ego inflation. This happens when our sense of self gets threatened or puffed up. In those moments, the real us emerges. And this brings us to Jung's two questions that reveal a person's deepest character. Question 1. What kind of person can you not stand? This works because of projection. What we hate most in others often reflects our own shadow material, the parts of ourselves we deny. When someone answers this, they're not really describing other people. They're giving you a map of their blind spots. Pay attention to how emotional they get. Notice the words they choose. Watch for themes that keep coming up. For example, if they say they hate dishonest people, it might mean they struggle with honesty themselves, either lying to others or lying to themselves. If they hate selfish people, it could mean they've denied their own needs so deeply that seeing others act selfishly makes them furious. If they hate weak people, it almost always reveals fear of their own vulnerability. They've built their identity around appearing strong. And here's something important Jung emphasized. The shadow doesn't only contain bad traits, it can also hold positive ones we've rejected. Sometimes people say they hate show-offs or overly happy people, but what they've rejected is their joy, their confidence. This isn't about blaming anyone, it's about recognition, because we all have a shadow. Question 2. Tell me about a time when you were sure you were right, but it turned out you were wrong. This is where things get even more revealing. Jung said that how someone handles being wrong shows their true character more than how they handle being right. Why? Because being wrong threatens what Jung called the ego ideal. That's the image we hold of ourselves as smart, competent, and in control. When that image gets shaken, our defenses kick in. Some people deny it. I wasn't wrong, things just changed. Others rationalize, well, I had good reasons for thinking that. Some project blame. It's not my fault they misled me. Others minimize, it wasn't a big deal anyway. But Jung said people with strong character do something different. They hold what he called The tension of opposites. They can admit they were wrong without their whole self-image falling apart. Pay attention to their response. If they can't think of an example, Jung warned that this shows denial, a fantasy of perfection. This is psychological inflation, a rigid ego that can't admit flaws. If they instantly blame others, it shows someone who avoids responsibility. If they get defensive, it means their self-worth depends entirely on being right. But if they can laugh at themselves and share openly, that's a sign of maturity. That's what Jung called integration. Integration means accepting both the good and bad in yourself without breaking apart. Jung found that people fall into patterns with these answers. The inflated ego type always projects flaws onto others and refuses to admit mistakes. Deep down, they're the most insecure. The self-attacking type admits flaws quickly, but often uses this as a shield. They acknowledge mistakes on the surface, so they don't have to deal with them deeply. The integrated type can admit both projections and mistakes without losing its sense of self. Jung saw this as the sign of true psychological health. When you ask these questions, watch for warning signs. Red flag 1. They blame all negative traits on one group of people. This is psychological splitting. It's dangerous. Red flag 2. They claim they've never been wrong about anything important. That's inflation, a disconnect from reality. Red flag 3. Their energy shifts dramatically when describing what they hate. That means you've hit a major shadow complex. Red flag 4. They deflect the questions back at you. That's avoidance, and it usually means they're hiding the biggest shadows. These insights can transform how you see people. In relationships, they reveal what's beneath the mask and create a deeper connection. At work, they uncover hidden motivations and prevent conflicts rooted in shadow projections. In parenting, they help children grow self-awareness early, building stronger mental health for life. But Jung gave us one warning. Use this knowledge ethically. These tools are for understanding, not control. Manipulation creates what he called psychological poison. It harms both the manipulator and the person being manipulated. So before you turn these questions on others, you need to turn them on yourself. Ask yourself, what kind of person can I not stand? Please write it down. Then ask, where does this trait live in me, even in a small way? Next, ask yourself, when was I sure I was right, but I was wrong? Write the story. Notice where your defenses showed up. Then think about how you could have responded differently. Here's a simple practice. For 1 week, notice one thing that irritates you about someone else each day. Then turn it inward. Where might that trait live in me? Each day, name one mistake you made and one lesson it taught you. At the end of the week, share one insight with someone you trust. That's how shadow work becomes real growth, not just theory. And here's the final truth Jung wanted us to remember. The real goal isn't to read others better, it's to read yourself better. Because when you truly know your mind, your mask, your ego, your shadow, you stop being fooled by others. You see them, not with judgment, but with understanding. As Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The real transformation begins in the hard, honest work of knowing yourself, shadow and all. Thank you for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need it. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for more content, but to join a growing space where truth, healing, and self-discovery matter. This is Psyche Thera, and your journey is just beginning.